Now, I've talked on this channel before about lots of different regions of Newfoundland. I haven't been to Labrador yet, so I just focus on the island for now. I've done a complete video about Corner Brook. I've done a complete video about the southwest coast, like from Port aux Basques in as far as Rose Blanche. I talk about, Fogo Island and Twillingate and Bonavista, Port Rexton, places like this that are absolutely stunning, and everybody should visit these places, experience them. But if you're in St. John's, or if you're coming to Newfoundland from outside the province and you fly into St. John's Airport, these types of trips take a little bit of planning. They're 3-4 hours to get to Bonavista, a little longer to get to Fogo Island, even longer still to get to the west coast of the province. What I wanted to talk about here today was just a few locations on the Avalon Peninsula within an hour or two drive of St. John's, so that you can actually take a simple day trip or go overnight. But the preparation, you could just pack up a change of clothes, a couple of sandwiches, and you can hit the road without very much preparation at all. Petty Harbour is a little fishing community. You have Chafe's Landing, which is an absolute must. I'm actually planning to do a little fish and chips battle in a couple of weeks from now, and Chafe's is definitely going to be on the list for one of the locations that I'll be visiting to do a little taste test. A couple of the Metro St. John's must-try spots. Chafe's is definitely on my list, but it's in Petty Harbour. The history of Ferryland is pretty interesting. It's, to my knowledge, the second planned colony in Newfoundland. George Calvert, who became Lord Baltimore and is actually the namesake for the city of Baltimore, Maryland, he actually came to Newfoundland to plan the colony of Avalon. The site is now where the town of Ferryland is. Archaeologists actually uncovered the foundations of houses that were part of the original colony of Avalon back more than 400 years ago. But the key piece of Ferryland that people should see is the lighthouse, and particularly the picnics at the lighthouse. Lighthouse Picnics, I believe, is what the actual company is called. Definitely a gem, a little over an hour outside of St. John's, an absolute must-try. Going for a run down the Irish Loop, past Petty Harbour, Bay Bulls, Ferryland. Head down to the southern tip of the Avalon Peninsula. It's a little bit past the tip, but the town of Trepassey, the edge of the Avalon Inn, beautiful place to get a bite to eat. And then coming back up the other side of the Irish Loop, coming through St. Mary's Bay, Salmonier. There's just a lot to visit. Salmonier Nature Park is one of my favorite places that we used to go to as a child, and going back as an adult, not being disappointed in. It's still, sometimes you walk through the whole park and the animals will be sleeping or hiding, and there's nothing you can really do about that, but there's a lot of animals there that are pretty cool to see in a nature reserve. The town of Placentia, Argentia, that part of the Avalon is significant. The town of Placentia plays a big role in the history of Newfoundland. I don't know if I'm saying this right, I've only actually read it, but Plaisance is what the French town was called. I understand it to be kind of like the capital of French Newfoundland back in the 1700s, and there were some vicious battles fought around Newfoundland with French and Canadian armies that started from Plaisance. They ransacked St. John's and Carbonear and Harbour Grace, and definitely a big part of Newfoundland history. I would encourage anybody who's interested to look into it a little bit more. Today you can still see the ruins of the fort at Castle Hill that we used to go to on Canada Day for a celebration every year. I haven't been back for quite a while, but I believe it's a National Historic Site. The town of Placentia today has a pretty unique look compared to other coastal towns because of the plain that it exists on in between the hills and in the water, the landmark bridge that takes you into the town. In 2019, before COVID, Jimmy Kimmel discovered the town of Dildo and had a lot of fun with it, and definitely put the town on the map. It's really a shame that Jimmy Kimmel's discovery happened when it did, because a lot of the momentum of the Jimmy for Mayor campaign for the town of Dildo and the construction of the Dildo sign and all these things were really hampered by the shutdowns that ensued with the COVID-19 pandemic. You have the Dildo Dory Grill, which is a great place for a bite. Just up the Bacaloo Trail from Dildo is the small town of Cavendish. Cavendish has this little road stop that has these 3 fishing sheds, red, blue, and yellow fishing sheds that you may have seen in the Newfoundland tourism ads. Really just cute little sheds that are colorful, and they're on a beach, so you take a quick stop and take some pictures there. Just a quick tip for you, I've been there a couple of times, and I don't mess with stuff when I visit the tourism landmarks typically, but I found out after taking a couple of trips to Cavendish that the little fishing sheds that are there are functional. There's a little library. I can't remember what they're all in, but actually you can go in. So next time I go, I will make sure to go in and take some pictures. But just a little quick tip for you: if you go there, feel free to go in. Unless the doors are locked, don't break in. But the doors are open, I believe, during like tourism season. You can go in and see what's inside the little sheds, which is something I didn't know. Driving north along the Baccaloo Trail, or the Baccaloo Coastal Drive, I believe is what it's called now. Driving a little bit further up from Cavendish, you'll come across the Heart's Towns. There's Heart's Delight, Heart's Content, and Heart's Desire. Not necessarily in that order when you're driving north, but these are cute towns with beautiful names, so it's worth driving up just to see the signs that say the town's names. The town of Heart's Content is significant from a tourism perspective for two main reasons. There's a really beautiful candy cane lighthouse that you can see off in the distance. You can actually get up and visit there. But there's also an old cable station located in the town. Heart's Content was the site where the first transatlantic telegraph cable landed in North America. So it's a historic town, had major consequences for communications to the New World back in the old days. You can see a piece of the original cable in the site where the cable landed. Driving north on the highway, you'll eventually come to Old Perlican, Greats Cove, Redhead Cove, and my favorite part of the drive altogether, Bay de Verde. My favorite part because when you come into the town, you turn a corner and you come down this big hill, and the town appears to rise up as you're coming down into it. You can stop and have a picnic along the road coming down into the town, and you have an amazing view of the place, or you can get right down into the harbor that's there, and if you have your camera with you, take some nice pictures of the boats that you see there. This is the kind of the tip of the peninsula that you're making a loop around. So coming back down on the east side of that peninsula, you'll eventually hit Ochre Pit Cove, where we stayed for a night back in 2021. Just a beautiful place to rest your head. If you're not trying to make it a simple day trip and you wanted to actually take your time and visit all the towns around, Ochre Pit Cove was where we stayed when we did that in 2021, and we found nice cabins that suit our needs. Beautiful town in and of itself. And then in the morning when we woke up, we were close enough to Northern Bay Sands, which is a beautiful beach. One of those other places that can be a simple day trip for you or incorporated into your longer trip around. Coming further down the peninsula, of course, you have Carbonair and Harbour Grace, two historical towns with lots to see and explore. The SS Kyle ran aground in 1967, I believe. A few years back, it was deteriorating and rusting out. They did a little bit of a restoration. It seems like it's kind of falling into disrepair again now. I don't know if there's any plans to fix it back up, but hopefully there is, because it's a pretty cool landmark for the town and for the area. Carbonair is right there, historic, and also kind of a larger town for Newfoundland standards, so you got lots of options for food or coffee or just different things that you might want. If you are in Newfoundland around Christmas time, highly, highly, highly recommended to at least once in your life visit the boat lighting in Port de Grave, which is in that area. It's just 15 minutes drive from Bay Roberts, kind of through Bay Roberts. You'll come across towns like Avondale, Harbour, Maine, Brigus. Brigus is one of the gems of the province as well. Lots to see in these places. They're so close that I'll just say, just go see them. Harbour, Maine, we had family that lived in Harbour, Maine that we would go visit. That was kind of our road trips on a Sunday. We'd go out and visit my aunt and my cousins in Harbour, Maine, and that was, a nice little road trip in and of itself. If you're starting in St. John's, you don't have to drive all the way across the island to see something historic or something beautiful or something fun. There's so much within an hour or two of St. John's that if you're looking for a quick day trip so you can leave in the morning and be back by supper time, or if you are planning something for a quick overnight but you don't want to spend most of your time driving, there are places that are definitely worth checking out within an hour or two of St. John's. Get out and explore your province. Get out and explore Newfoundland.